Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you about the latest from Marianas Rest, Fata Morgana, out March 12 on Napalm Records. This album has 8 tracks, 54 minutes in length, and this is the band's third full-length studio album. They're a Finnish melodic death doom metal band from Kotka, and they bring to the forefront that very traditional melancholic melodic sound. Now, as far as this record is concerned, the structure is very linear. It's fluid, continuous, and linear. It takes you from the first song to the last song in a very cohesive manner. There's no deviations, there's no peaks, there's no valleys. It's just this straightforward feel that you get from the moment you press play until you reach the last song on the record. Now, having said that, there are some deviations within the tracks. There are some ups and downs, and your eyesight, as far as being the listener is concerned, changes within the songs and then from song to song. But those changes are not put there by the structure of the tracks or by the structure of the record. They're really put to the forefront by the soundscape and the emotion that's packed within the soundscape and atmosphere of the record. Now, once you get into that soundscape, you're going to get this really predominant melancholic and melodic sound that just merges together to create this unique experience that is the sound of Marianas Rest. I love the sound of this record in general, but I love how they were able to create this thickness of emotion that really comes forward on every single song. This is a very powerful sounding record. It has a lot of layers, there's a lot of thickness to it, but there's also a lot of balance from the beginning all the way to the end. I actually think that that's one of the key points of this record, is how balanced the sound experience is from the first track all the way to the last. I felt that in previous records, they created some changes within the songs, within the soundscape of the songs, that made the album feel a little bit abrupt at times, or at least make you feel like some songs didn't go necessarily very well with the others. On this record, I didn't have that impression at all. I felt like all the songs were pulling you in the same direction. They were always taking you into the same path with the same goal in mind. So there was this sense of balance, there was this sense of quality and quantity of sound that was there on every single track from the beginning to the end, that allows the album to stay together, to stay as a unit, very tight, very cohesive, and allows the album to feel as one. There's not one single song on this record that feels out of place. The whole record feels like one single track broken into 8 different chapters. That's how the experience of this album will be for the listener. Now, within that sound, you can break it into different elements, and to me there are 3 key elements that deserve some attention. Starting off with the keyboards. I love the keyboards on this record, not because they're in the forefront, not because they're making the album sound like an 80s dance hit studio kind of record. No, I love the fact that there are keyboards on this album because they give atmosphere, they give melody, but they give it in a way that's so subdued. It's like a breeze, it's like the wind. You feel it, but you're not necessarily getting smack in the face with it. It's hidden, it's a layer on a track here, it's a layer on a track there. And to me, that's a very important aspect of using the keyboards to create the necessary atmosphere, to bring that emotion into the forefront, but not overly produce the record and not overly control the overall experience that the sound has to offer, which is something that's happening more and more with metal bands that use keyboards in one form or another. So I love the fact that it was very subdued, very controlled, layers, creating atmosphere, creating ambiance, creating emotion. I love the keyboards from that perspective. The drums are also a very important element on this record because they were balanced in an unbalanced kind of way. Always understanding exactly when they needed to be a little bit heavier, when they needed to be a little bit stronger, and when they needed to sit back and just control the emotions, just control the presence of the song. So you're going to get a varied approach from track to track. The drums are not a one-size-fits-all across all 8 songs. You're going to get a lot of different looks, you're going to get a lot of different feels, but they're always there to balance out the track, to give the song what it needs in order to make the song stronger, in order to make the song better, and not necessarily just creating heaviness, but really creating lengths of time and really pushing the song forward, really moving it along, caressing it along. So I love how the drums sound on this record. Last but not least is the guitars. The guitars are perhaps the most diverse element that this album has to offer. Like I said, the drums are slightly diverse, but in a controlled way. The guitars are a little bit more out of control, if you will. I love the acoustic guitars on this record. I love how they were used. in order to create melody, atmosphere, ambiance, really pushing the envelope as far as the creativity is concerned on how can we construct tracks that add all of these elements together that seem to bring to life the emotions that are built in the lyrics. And I think the acoustic guitars played a huge role in that aspect. The electric guitars were very predominant as well. I love the feedback. It's just incredible. I'd never thought I would say this, but on an album that has this kind of atmosphere, the feedback adds so much darkness to the overall sound, to how the songs are constructed, to how they break, to how they restart themselves, to how they end. I just love everything surrounding the guitars. I love how diverse they were within the parameters that they set for this specific record on what they wanted the sound to be. And it's one of the elements that keeps the album moving, that keeps the tracks alive. It's definitely the motor of this record, really pushing each and every single song to the forefront and giving it all the essence that it needs. The vocals are there to bring the anger, to bring the aggression to life. They really represent the lyrics, they really represent the message built within the lyrics, and they change ever so slightly depending on what that message is, depending on what the tone and the atmosphere of the song has to offer. But they're very balanced, they're very strong from the beginning all the way to the end. There's very little variations, and when they're there for a reason. They're not just there because they felt like doing something different in order to change the perception of the song. No, whenever they change the approach as far as vocals are concerned, they did it with a purpose in order to bring the lyrics into picture, into focus, make you understand exactly what the emotion of that song has in store for you, and make you grasp onto it, hold onto it, understand the track better. So I really love the vocal performance all the way through. The harsh vocals, the spoken word, if you will, really important in order to set the tone, set the table with some of the tracks on this record. Overall, I love this album. This is their best release to date. I feel like this album encompasses everything that they've done up until this point. Everything that they did right in the previous records, they brought it to the table, they enhanced it, and they made this album. Everything that didn't really work or felt perhaps a little bit out of place in the previous albums, they left it out. That's how this album comes across. It comes across as a more polished, better organized, better recorded, better put together. Everything about this album feels more mature. The band is reaching a different level. They're understanding exactly what works for them, what's their sound, what's their DNA, what's their fingerprint. Let's stick to that. Let's do what we do best. Put it together in an album and allow it to be the best record that I feel that they've ever released. This is an album that doesn't really have any soft spots. If I want to be super critical of this record, I would have loved to see this album have a few interlude songs in order to continue that bridge between tracks, create a little bit more atmosphere within the album, make this album better, perhaps all well-rounded. But that's me being super critical. I would have loved to see one or two interlude songs, perhaps an acoustic song or an acoustic instrumental interlude somewhere within this album to tie in a couple of tracks together. I think it would have worked really well. But that's, like I said, me being super critical. Outside of that, this is a magnificent record, the best album Marianas Rest has ever released. Now, as far as songs are concerned, let's start off with Sacrificial. This is the opening track. Great intro, and I love this song because it has an intro built into it. So it's not like you start off the record with an intro and then you get into the song. They built the intro into the track itself and allows you to ease in, not just into the song, but into the album as a whole. I love the melodic, melancholic soundscape that this track has. The vocals cut through it with heaviness, with aggression, with power, with intent. A song that adding acoustic guitars and backing vocals to those acoustic guitars, those are two elements that I felt like expanded the walls of sound, made the song slightly bigger by adding more layers. It doesn't change the heaviness of the track, it doesn't change how the track necessarily comes together from an aggression standpoint, but it does add a different type of heaviness. It makes the song feel more robust. It makes the song feel slightly bigger. It elevates the overall atmosphere that the track has to offer. It grows in intensity as it grows in sound. That's pretty much how this song is put together. Very dynamic, very engaging. Next, Advent of Nihilism. Very melodic, atmospheric track. It keeps a very linear path. This is a song that doesn't really change, doesn't really fluctuate as you progress through it. The vocals are always there to add aggression, to add heaviness. That's a very constant common denominator, if you will, throughout this album, and it's true in this song, but it counterbalances a little bit of all the melody and melancholy that the track has in its sound. So you need these two elements in order to give you two polar opposite reflections of what this song is all about, of the DNA of the track itself. It brings this deep doom vibe to the forefront. This is a song that has a very gothic doom underscore to it. It's there in every single element that it has. It's there in the sound, it's there in the vocals, and it's definitely there in the lyrical content as well. The keyboards on this track play another role in order to add that gothic doom vibe that the track has, but it's such a layer, it's just a thick underlining, if you will, to how the whole song is built, but a very important thick underlining, because it adds a different level, it adds a different sense of perception as far as this song is concerned. Last but not least, South of Vostok. I like this song because I like the intro that it has. The intro is important. It allows you to feel the somber mood that this song is going to have in store for you. It kind of paints a picture just the way it opens. You know you're not going to go into something that you're not really ready for. The intro of this track really sets the tone for how the whole song is going to develop, for how the whole song is going to be built, and for how the whole song is going to be delivered. One of the most emotionally charged tracks on this album. I really felt that this track was perhaps the culmination of everything that happened throughout. All the songs leading up to this point push you into this emotional climax, and that's exactly how this song comes across. The guitar sound is magnificent, it's diverse, it offers you different looks. The vocals are very piercing, pushing through, cutting through the sound, pushing themselves into the forefront, a little bit more abrupt, a little bit more in your face, a little bit more rugged, if you will, and it creates an incredible duality. In that duality is exactly where this band lives. A concentrating melody, melancholy, and heaviness and aggression. That duality of those worlds coming together, finding the perfect path, the perfect balance, where you can come in of one, out of the other. That's exactly where this band lives, and this is exactly where this song is. This is a pure representation of what this band is all about, and I feel like this song is a pure representation of what this album has in store for the listener. This is it. This is Marianas Rest with Fata Morgana, out March 12 on Napalm Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.